It's after dark, and things are getting ugly at Parker Center, police headquarters.
No justice, no peace! No justice, no peace!
What it seemed like is that, like, for the first several hours, like, no one was in charge. I think the mayor thought, because he is African American, that there would never be a race riot here again, that he would be able to control it. Gates thought that his police could handle any situation. Turned out they were both wrong.
Wrong and still out of position. So it falls to Deputy Chief Ron Frankel to order full mobilization. That happens at 8:10. Every officer in the department is ordered to report to duty, but in many respects, it is simply too late. The process will take several hours. Many of the officers are not home. Others live far away, and when they do finally report in, there aren't enough vehicles to get them to their assignments.
We're riding 4 deep in a car. Once we did get assigned cars, and we were borrowing, just dual-purpose cars that don't have any lights or anything on them. We were borrowing those and just getting everybody basically to the command post, which was at 54th and Arlington.
Just getting to the command center was difficult enough.
Lights and sirens everywhere. People were everywhere running. Buildings on fire everywhere. And you can hardly see for the smoke, and choking and coughing on the way to the command post because of the smoke, and everything is burning.
Meanwhile, the situation at Florence and Normandy remains out of control. It is about this time, shortly after 8:30, that Police Chief Gates finally arrives at the Emergency Operations Center at City Hall, where he's briefed by his staff. Nearby, the crowd at Parker Center has been growing, preventing police from moving out to other areas of unrest. Tired of the standoff, the protesters turned to vandalism. The crowd begins to fan out, leaving a wave of destruction in its wake as it moves to nearby city buildings. The mayor and the chief still have not spoken. At 8:45, Mayor Bradley, who can see what is happening outside City Hall, calls Governor Pete Wilson and requests help from the National Guard. Technically, legally, the mayor is within his rights making the request, but normally such a request would only come after consultation with the chief of police. What might have been controllable a few hours ago is now exploding into sheer anarchy. Under cover of darkness, the rioters have turned to arson. Building after building goes up in flames.
Western engage OCD. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fires burning.
A special plan had been worked out in advance between the fire department and the police department. In the case of civil disorder, fire trucks would have police escorts. That plan falls apart.
From engine 14 at 51st and Avalon. We need PD here. Firemen need help.
We're working on PD, and we cannot get any PD for you.
We have an injured fireman, and we still have no PD at Adams and Hobart.
Light Force 50 needs help. We've got shots fired. Light Force 50, roger. We're working on PD right now for you. If it gets bad, just pull out.
Go. We got gunshot.
I now have fire chiefs that are running around literally infuriated, yelling and screaming that they can't get to the fires, they can't get to the calls because they don't have police escorts.
OTD from test, Light Force 35, 31st and Western. We have a fireman shot. We need help immediately.
We were on Vermont Boulevard there, and it's kind of like on Beirut Avenue.
Fire Captain Carl Butler turned from the fire at one point to face a gang member pointing an AK-47 at his head.
He's a madman. This is his night. I remember his eyes. I remember the muzzle of the assault rifle that he had, I kept expecting that gun to go off. It was, if he killed me, he was going to kill my crew.
Having gone in without a police escort, they decided to abandon their truck.
We went into a Latino household and kind of forced our way in, but anyway, we barricaded ourselves in there for about 45 minutes until the SWAT team came and rescued us.
What surprises many is how the zone of fire and destruction spreads throughout Los Angeles, to Hollywood and other more affluent areas.
So now you have a situation where you don't have a singular flashpoint, you have multiple flashpoints that are occurring all over, and they're occurring almost simultaneously.
Communication, any kind of communication, is at a premium that night. It is almost impossible to get through to any law enforcement agency. The 911 emergency phone lines are clogged to the point of paralysis.
Communications was horrible that night. You couldn't call your next door neighbor. It was very difficult to get through to 911 or any other agency.
The dominoes are starting to fall. Lack of communication at the top, clogged communication throughout the system. Street violence, looting, arson. Finally, at 10 p.m., top city officials are brought together on a conference call, initiated by the governor, Pete Wilson. He, Mayor Bradley, Los Angeles County Sheriff Sherman Block, and Chief Gates, among others, reviewed the need for sending in the National Guard. It is the governor's recollection that the law enforcement representatives on the call, Chief Gates and Sherman Block, initially expressed some skepticism about the need for the National Guard. By the end of the call, as Mayor Bradley remembers it, that skepticism had been resolved.
When the governor asked, how many troops do you need? I said 2,000. The chief was silent. He didn't say anything.
Around 11 p.m., 8 hours after the verdict, some sort of unified response becomes discernible.
We believe that the situation is now simmering down, pretty much under control, and the governor has assisted us with a declaration of emergency so that in the event further assistance is needed, it will be able to respond very quickly.
We have made available some 2,000 National Guardsmen. They are on standby, prepared to move.
At 12:15, Mayor Bradley signs an order putting the city under curfew. The National Guard is dispatched to Los Angeles, but they will not be deployed on the streets until Thursday afternoon. Looters are now being arrested. Throughout the early hours of the riot, police had been inhibited about arresting suspects. No transportation, no place to process them, no place to keep them. That's changing. And Chief Gates is on the street again. He is guardedly optimistic. Even that, it turns out, is premature.
We're, I think, slowly getting in control. As you can see, we're out in force, and the officers are beginning to make arrests more and more, and I think we will begin to impress upon the people in this area that we mean business, that this has got to stop, and so I believe that we'll bring it under control in not too distant future.
It was real simple. White folk, we tired of this. We ain't taking it no more. It ain't over till we say it's over.
The man is right. It's not over. Not by a long shot.
Good morning, everyone. After a night of incredible devastation and destruction and loss of life, Los Angeles is trying to figure out what happened overnight in the wake of the Rodney King beating verdicts.
Thursday morning, Los Angeles wakes up to find that it's not over. Police are out in force at Florence and Normandy, but violence has moved beyond the epicenter of the riot. What no one expected was that the rioting would continue during daylight hours. In fact, it gets worse. The fires continue, and the city seems to explode in an orgy of looting.
I've been taking pictures of all this. This is exciting. It's wrong, but it's exciting. Ralph had some people here for a minute, and they took off and just total mayhem. Everybody's getting what they can get, and then they go on, they come back. I got pictures of people going back and forth 2 or 3 times. telling you, it's amazing. Let me get this shot here.
I can't stand this. To see our community go down like this. I've tried to educate myself and educate my children so that they would not have to live and go through this. And then I have to look at this and then watch these people teach their children to go into stores and take things and steal. I'm ashamed of my own people.
The police are reduced, for the most part, to standing by and watching.
They knew we weren't shooting them. They knew we weren't arresting them because they didn't see anyone going to jail. So they just ran at will, at free will, doing what they wanted to do. We were temporary inconvenienced and nothing more. We did not have the resources. We did not have the transportation. We did not have the personnel to arrest hundreds, and I mean hundreds, of violators. And I'm talking about men, women, and children. I'm not talking about black, Hispanic. I'm talking about criminals that make up black, Hispanic, white, and everything else under the sun.
Most of the 2,000 National Guardsmen are deployed at armories throughout Los Angeles by the wee hours of Thursday morning. But with all the looting and arson that's sweeping the city, there's not a guardsman to be seen on the streets. Hundreds upon hundreds of Korean-owned businesses are first looted, then torched. Among the most memorable pictures of the day, 2 Korean businessmen doing for themselves what neither police nor National Guard are on hand to do. 2 o'clock Thursday afternoon. An angry Governor Wilson gets on the phone with the commander of the National Guard, Major General Robert Thrasher. The local commander, another general, is also on the line. Why, the governor wants to know, are the Guard not on the streets? There isn't enough ammunition to go around, he's told. Also, there are some plates missing that modify the M16 from an automatic to a semi-automatic weapon. Governor Wilson suggests with some irritation that each man be given 1 bullet. That, he points out, will make the question of an automatic or semi-automatic M16 academic. As for the rest of the ammunition, he says, give it to the squad leaders. Have them allocate it as needed. You heard him, says General Thrasher to his subordinate general. You've got your marching orders. Get them out. And so, finally, around mid-Thursday afternoon, 24 hours after the verdict, the National Guard is deployed in the streets of Los Angeles. There's a familiar dissonance to it. U.S. troops patrolling the neighborhoods of an American city as though they were on a foreign mission. If their presence alone is intended to restore tranquility, it's not enough. The disorder, the chaos, the open lawlessness extend well beyond Thursday and into Friday, until finally, more from exhaustion than the realization of any goal, the anarchy burns itself out. Much of what happened here came about because the LAPD has a reputation for being too aggressive, for resorting too quickly to excessive force, especially in the city's black communities. The videotape of the Rodney King beating engraved on so many of our minds the grainy images of Los Angeles police officers mercilessly beating an apparently helpless man. A lot of very good officers have been tarred by that image. One can't help but conclude that much of the Los Angeles Police Department has become shell-shocked over the past year, and that on the day of the verdicts, if anything, they were gun-shy. It explains in one sense the ultimate irony, the LAPD being held to account for being too timid in trying to control a civil disturbance. There is, as we noted at the beginning of this program, blame enough to go around, although the police chief and the mayor, consumed by their rivalry and their distaste for one another, deserve special recognition. The Los Angeles riots of 1992 exposed as much as anything a lack of leadership. Not simply the leadership to contain the violence or to put down the riots, but a leadership that has inadequately addressed the deep-seated problems that confront this city and that exploded on the streets of Los Angeles. It remains only to be noted that the cost of the Los Angeles riots was terribly high. 60 dead now, 2,383 injured, 25,000 jobs temporarily lost, $735 million in damage, and worst of all, no reason to believe that it couldn't happen again.